Cool. Welcome back to Anime Savants, everyone. And this week, I want to say Zeno again, but this week I am Chrome.
Oh yeah, this week I am Lloyd Saloom.
All right, and so stuff is out. I mean, not everything is out, but stuff is out. I watched the off-tiered, off-brand stuff. I haven't gotten to the romance stuff. James got into the shonen. Let's talk about Gachi Akuta. What was that like?
Strong first episode. I, as a manga reader, I've not read I did not go back and reread the first chapter, so there were some details that I'd kind of forgotten about. But essentially, for those who are not following, it's the story of Rudo, who's a junk thief who gets framed for a murder and thrown out of a sky kingdom and falls into the trash. So the first episode basically just covers some of the exposition about the world that he's living in, and then sort of halfway or more towards the end we get the plot of the killing of his adopted father and his framing for that. It actually happens very quickly in the anime and in the manga. Like, I think he's already in the junk heap by the end, or he I think it's like 2 chapters basically, or a chapter and a half. So they're not like adapting a whole lot. I was kind of wondering if it would kind of get to the shits immediately in the first episode, and it doesn't really, which is a good thing because we see him sort of given opportunities for exposition about the society that he lives in. Particularly, it comes from it's almost like when you're writing a story and you just see when like people have to like get the exposition, and there's a scene where very early on he's confronted by some local punks who casually drop all of the major details about the divisions of the upper class and lower class society while also shitting on Rudo at the same time, which is like a very efficient scene, right? It gets a lot done. But one thing I'll just comment on is the overall quality of the production. So Gachi Akuta has a very unique visual style in the manga. A lot of like very thick lines and a lot of contrast in the panels and everything else. And so when I heard that the series was getting adapted, that was the first thing that I was interested in, to see how would we take this very striking style and make it look good in motion. And for the most part, I think they do a good job. There's still some like off-model stuff that looks goofy in the first episode. Particularly, there's a scene where Rudo's talking to his main squeeze, and they have to show him sort of in like a side profile view looking embarrassed, and like you could just tell like the eyes are not quite drawn right. But like other than that, like a few other like little production glitches and so on, I think that they pulled off a pretty good look. Now, the Sky City and the world of the pit, basically everything that's on the ground below, have very, very different aesthetic vibes. So we don't get a lot of that in the first episode. I think literally the last 30 seconds is him kind of like waking up in the wasteland, and so we don't really get a good shot of that. I was actually very interested to see what that would look like animated, because in the manga you do get these sort of like really big blown out views of like what the wasteland looks like, but there's not an idea of if there's any color there, or like all that kind of stuff. So that was saved for episode 2, which is out, but I'm only really covering episode 1 here. I think it's a okay first episode without a lot of action, and hopefully that doesn't bore people too much, but I think it did a good job.
All right, so it's not giving like Fire Force season 1 vibes where everyone was like, it's so boring, nothing's happening, like blah 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 blah. It wasn't an episode like that, right?
No, because you have to get to there is some like emotional core, I think, of the story. I mean, one of the things I complain about in all fiction is that there's generally like a lack of good villains, and therefore it's hard to motivate a main character to like get anything done in a story. Like, it takes a lot of work. In Gachi Akuta, kind of the motivating event is this murder of his adopted father, the one who gives him the gloves, and then the whole town already doesn't like him, and so he's already outcasted. And then like the final nail in the coffin is like the girl he likes also kind of turns on him in the end, like not in a dramatic kind of way, but like it happens in the crowd scene. And so like he's like screaming for revenge on his way down. So like that's the inciting incident, and that has a lot of energy to it. And I think like if you want to see him get revenge off of those types of things, because he is a fairly sympathetic character, it sets that part up in the first episode pretty well. Now I happen to know some of the immediate events that happened in what will be the second episode that kind of speak more to the kind of action that you will see over the course of the series. So that's why I thought that maybe they would kind of cram a lot of that in, maybe adapt the first 3 to 4 chapters into the first episode, which is
factor.
To get something cool happening on screen very, very early. And, to credit, they didn't do that. I think it's probably for the best, because pacing issues, especially in like action series, are always problematic. So, if you can afford to slow things down a little bit and take your time, you're probably better off. So I would say that's kind of where the first episode sits. But I'm excited for it. And maybe in the second episode also we'll get more like the musical themes, because you see like in the opening and the previews, they give a lot of like heavy, like, rock and roll and other sorts of, tracks. And there wasn't, again, because there wasn't a lot of action in the first episode, you don't get that part as much. So still, I think it's pretty cool. I liked what I was saying.
A picture of the mangaka. She kind of is like, she's not metal. She's not goth though, but she definitely is like a darker, like her color palette is more like darker from the pictures that I've seen. Not that she, is a part of either of those communities. Okay. I watched Scooped Up by an S Rank Adventurer, and it's your typical, like, revenge. I want to say revenge, but the revenge hasn't really come yet. It's an interesting premise, and I think actually the 2 shows that I like watched that were like off the beaten path this week kind of do both of those, where it starts with like a massacre, and the reasoning for, like, the main character being by himself, being with the hero, raised by the S-class hero, and then how he navigates society. And part of it is kind of like his own awkwardness, because he's only brought up with the master, like that's the main person that he's had experience with. And then I also like the fact that she is hell-bent on making sure that he does not become cocky. So he's the opposite of like an overconfident protagonist. He's like an overpowered protagonist who's like, oh, I'm so weak, I need to get better. So he's simultaneously making himself insanely powerful, while also thinking that like everyone around him is like, oh, that's not enough. Like, you need to do better. Based off of what happened with the first party. But if this show goes any way that I think it's going to go, then the first party is going to go in a dungeon, realize that they needed him, and all kind of stuff like that. And then it's going to snowball effect, and they're going to have a clash of the 2 new parties trying to get him back as the white mage, etc., etc. But overall, I like it, and I do like the power system within it, because she cordoned him to white magic, and he's really good at all magic, but he only thinks he's good at white magic. And so they're like little plot points. She's got little spies, because they lived in the woods together until he was, like 14, 15, what he is right now in the series. So the hero's keeping tabs on them. There's some kind of like ancient text that he got a hold of, blah, blah, like they've laid a lot of like seeds, or they planted a lot of seeds that are interesting. And I would say this is like premium B-, C+. That sounds crazy, because if you think premium, you think like it's A, but like this is like they are sticking to what they know what they can do. The budget is used in maybe like 1 action scene per episode that makes it look like really cool, really interesting, and that's it. The rest of it is very much so like still things. Him walking through the city, but you just see his silhouette just going like that. Like, they're not going all out for this show, but when they do put effort in, it does show. So I like it. I'm interested to see where it's going to go. And this is giving more so of that stuff that I was talking about a week or 2 ago about the pacing. The pacing is so enjoyable because it's not just, oh, the full episode was him as a child doing his training. It was him doing the childhood training, him looking for a party, joining the party, and getting kicked out all within the first episode. And it all made sense. It wasn't rushed. So I like it. The titties aren't even that crazy, if you be honest. They have big titties, but they don't show them, which is very interesting. So
who would you say the audience is for this?
You know what? I think the audience for this, and so like the greatest let's say like the greatest alchemist of all time, Unaware Atelier Meister. I don't actually. I would even say Banished Hero. I think this has like the makings of like a Banished Hero, where it seems to be more lighthearted, but there's definitely some dark stuff that's going on underneath, and it's probably going to come in later in the season as opposed to like being straight up introduced as like we're just having fun, we're adventuring, we're partying. Like it's definitely going to be more than that. From what I've observed from the first 2 episodes, but I've enjoyed the first 2 episodes. They were cool. Felix Film. I'm not really familiar with other stuff that they've done, or I haven't even looked them up. But I'm not familiar with that studio just off the name by itself. But I had a good time. Like it was, a fun series watching while eating dinner. It was easy.
I feel you. I caught up with the first episode of season 2 of Seventh Prince, and just as questionable as ever.
Out the gate.
I need to have a conversation with the costume design folks.
Oh my
because
God.
This season, I guess the theme is divine magic, and so I do like that they kind of cold open directly into a fight that will take place, I guess, a little bit later in the season. Maybe it's like episode 2 or 3 that it actually happens, but we see Lloyd up in the heavens, about to get it
fucking
cracking
around
with like an angel of some kind. So there's some like wild shit that pops off in like the first few minutes, and then we cut back, kind of short flashback, and it's about the episode is more about him going back to the church that I guess he fucked up when like 2 years ago when he was also trying to extort them for divine magic, and so he wants to try it again. we meet Esther, who is another big titty character to hang around this, but she's the big titty nun.
Okay.
Nice lady. Definitely thinks Lloyd is a little misunderstood by the church.
So she's part of the harem.
Yeah, I mean, eventually it's gonna happen. I mean, the first shot you get of her is like the priest is freaking out because he's remembering what Lloyd did the last time he was there, and then the camera cuts and like her big titties are just right on top of his head, and she's like, "Lloyd's a good kid, he's great." And it's like, oh no. But I was already just like, I was already feeling a certain type of way in the opening, like when they cut to the regular story and he's in his room and they show his outfit, and it's like a slow pan up his leg. I'm like, why are we doing this? We don't have to do this.
And see, like what you said, that's when someone's gonna walk in the room while you're watching it.
Or if they did walk in there's a flashback for when like so Esther's like remembering Lloyd when he was 2 years younger. So I don't even remember. Is he supposed to be like 9? I don't know how old his character is. He 12? I don't know.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's a teen.
Well, I don't think so either. I think he's like. I think he's probably like 12. So this maybe he's like 9 or 10. And when I tell you, the hemline on his outfit when he was there, when he was 9, was so questionable.
Oh my God.
It was so questionable. First of all, it was a better outfit than the one he was wearing presently. Like, just from a design point of view. It's like a blue sort of, I don't know, jersey. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I was looking at this like, this is bait, but for the worst kind of people. Just the worst, absolute worst.
Okay.
And there's a lot of that in the episode. But from a story point of view, they move a lot forward. We learn that the group of sort of half mutant folks from the last season, they are now living. Some of them are living like with him. Some of them have been like they take over the castle. The main dude with like the whatever his like glue ability or whatever that was, he is now the governor. So they're doing pretty well, but like they're kind of there. They're reintroduced briefly, not so much for comic relief, but to sort of put a bookend on that story, because very clearly it's going to be all about the divine magic, at least for the first part of the season. So that was nice. It was nice to see that. We meet Lloyd's sister, Saria, who has been out of the picture. She is like a musician genius, but she also doesn't pay any attention to anything that's not music related, so she barely remembers his name. Like,
oh wow!
Almost gets into some stupid stuff with some thugs early on. So I think that was more to just like have a little flex moment because Lloyd just teleports them randomly. Like who knows? They could just be dead. It was crazy. But all of this was to set up the final scene when they are at the church recital and he feels some divine presence and he's like, oh, I got these teleport abilities. And I like how it was a callback to the final battle of the last season where, what was it called? Like something wolf, hunting wolf, whatever the guy's teleport ability was.
Yeah.
Of the demon. So the way it worked, it was explained to us back then, is that you don't need to be able to like see the target, you just need to be able to feel what their magic is, and you can kind of teleport directly to them. That's how the demon who was controlling the guy's body was able to, outspeed Lloyd for a while and like kind of get the better of him in the fight a little bit, was because of that. Well, he has now copied that spell, and so he uses it on the divine presence, and he thinks he's just going to go up into the air, but we see in the animation that he like breaks through to another realm using the teleport by accident. And that kind of puts him one-on-one with this angel character we saw him fighting in the beginning, only they haven't yet, come to blows. So it was really cool because it was I like series that just reward you for paying attention and also stick to their own rules, even if they're kind of ridiculous. And that's what they do here. The other cool part, there's a scene about like a minute and a half, it's from the recital, where you watch Lloyd try to break down the music magic that he's hearing, and realizing that it's totally different from everything that he knows because it doesn't use words for incantations. It's like actually geometric, and it's like really, they do a really neat visual and expositional breakdown of that different type of magic. And the thing that's always cool about the series, if you get over the weird, Fujoshi bait, is that there is a genuine, the character has a genuine interest in magic, and then this show tries to express that not just with him constantly saying it, but also trying to break down in the magical mumbo jumbo of the world building that they've done, how all this stuff actually works. Does it hang together? Probably, probably not, but it's cool to see because then I believe much more strongly in the Lloyd character because I'm seeing this through his eyes, and I think it's a really cool thing. So I think overall, like, production values were high. If you were into the first season, you're gonna be into the second season for basically all the same reasons. We got new characters, we've got a couple returning characters. There's been some clear like growth and evolution, and everyone was on screen. The comedy, the light comedy that's there is still same beats, so I enjoyed that.
Okay. I mean, not surprising from that series because the first season was awesome. So, welcome to the Outcast.
I meant Futa people, not Fujoshi. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I mean, well, I didn't say anything because I was just like, is that something new for the Fujoshis? Because I ain't checked in on them in a minute.
The Futa people.
Oh, well, they can, them. Yeah. Which they're probably the ones who are funding a lot of it. So
I mean, that's why the series exists. So I'm not blind or stupid. I know what's going on here.
Oh my gosh. So I watched Welcome to the Outcasts restaurant, and this was something that I was interested in just off of looking at it, and I loved it. I fucking loved that shit. It started off with a cool fight scene. They were fighting a dragon. And it went into detail about like the power dynamics. They have levels, they have different classes, they have all this kind of stuff like that. And then it's one of those like kick him out of the party kind of shows again, clearly. And the leader kicks the main character out because he's literally jealous of him. Like, the character is, once again, he's a cook. His class is a cook, but he's also extremely, like, he is the utility person behind the group. He makes sure that everyone is healed up efficiently. He knows, oh, hey, this monster does this, etc. Like, They do a really good job of encompassing all of that in the first like 3 to 5 minutes. He gets kicked out, and then it's just like a chill slice of life. Like, oh, I'm gonna go here. This is how you start a restaurant. Blah 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 blah. And then takes a quick turn. The main little girl is like a slave. He has to like use almost all of his money to outbid a perverted merchant. And at first, and it was kind of funny, but it was fucked up. It was kind of funny because he was just like, oh, because he bought some restaurant stuff from the merchant earlier, and he was like, oh, this guy's chill. And then the people around him started whispering, they're like, oh yeah, if he gets her, he gonna fuck her up. Yeah, he's gonna rape the shit out of her. And he was like, what the fuck? So then the merchant started betting, and then he won her. But there's definitely like a connection because he did like a flashback kind of scene of him having the same kind of like empty look in his eyes when he was younger that she has like right now. And it was pretty much it was a very heartwarming like first episode where it was kind of him just like letting her be accustomed, like get comfortable with him while also going through the things of like opening the restaurant, like talking about like cooking monster meat. It was giving like Dungeon Meshi vibes, but not Dungeon Meshi, like where they're like it's all about the cooking, like it or the dungeon diving and the cooking. It's not like that. I would say it's like a mixture of like Dungeon Meshi and campfire cooking in another world, if that makes sense. If you've seen campfire cooking in another. And then the second episode got really dark once again because it was like really, really happy. And then rape came back into it again. And then he went into the dungeon and mauled some nigga, like with kitchen knives. And I was like, okay, all right. I was like, you know what? I'm sold. I'm in. I was like, I enjoyed the process. I wasn't expecting it to have like these moments of like, oh, this is definitely like not even morally dubious. Like this is bad. Like, oh my god, like bad things are happening to these young characters. Like they're taking advantage of like young people, and he's the adult in the situation. He's just like, hell no, like I'm not about to let this ride. And there's no like, oh, I'm in love with him, blah 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 blah. It's none of that. It's just pretty heartwarming for the most part. It's only 2 episodes though, so but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was wondering. I when I looked at it, the first thought I had was like, "Oh, this does look like Dungeon Meshi."
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, it does highlight the food. I had.
Well, in the preview.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, I really enjoyed the first fight scene, and I was like, "Oh yeah, if we can have more stuff like this, that'd be great." Like blah blah blah. But I don't think that's going to be the primary focus. I think it might pop up occasionally. But I think it's more so going to be about like, you know, the people who come into the restaurant, like, because the restaurant is made for adventurers. And even within the first 2 episodes, there have been like multiple different kinds of adventurers who have come in that like represent different classes, different levels, specializations, all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Like if they're just going to constantly like world build about it and then like occasionally go into the dungeon to show it off, I'm actually down for that. Like, and then you get to see like really nice food, which I said this was a show that I'd probably have to like watch while I'm eating. I had to watch it while eating because the food looks fucking delicious. I was like, I want that shit, but I'm eating now, so I'm not gonna waste money on getting takeout. So, yeah, cool. I like it.
I may check it out. Actually, I may. Next thing that I took a look at was Tougen Anki. So this was an interesting one for me because I think the last couple of years that we've had, I would say like good luck in the, you know, as far as like weekly anime watching for what I would consider like B tier action series. So B tier just means like more like the production, like how much they're going to spend.
Like Ragnar Crimson
basis. So like Gachi Akuta, I think is a, you know, B plus tier series. There's a fair amount of money being spent, and it's a very stylized production, and it's a property that is valuable to you know, its manga publisher. So there's a lot of like, you know, investment that's made. And then there's some other stuff that gets made that's like, you know, they put some money into it, but maybe it's not quite as big a series, and Tougen Anki falls in that category as well. So there was a lot of growing hype as the season was starting up that like this one might be surprisingly good. And I can say that it more or less met my expectations. So the story that we follow in the first episode, we're introduced in a flashback to the aftermath of some fight where two individuals having a conversation. One of them has a baby, basically saying, "Hey, I've made the decision to take this kid away," and then his compatriot, who can't believe it, is kind of flipping out at him, like, that's a devil child. What you gonna do with the devil child? And then we cut to the present day where we meet Shiki, who is the you can kind of assume that he's a child from the flashback, and he's living with his adopted father at a liquor store, and you kind of tell right away that he's like a model gun enthusiast because his room is covered in model guns. It's kind of funny, like in Japan, this storyline only makes sense because you're not allowed to own, or it's very difficult to own firearms as a private individual. So there actually is like a pretty large hobbyist model gun collector scene. But if this was in the United States, he'd just have guns in his room, and like literally his walls are covered with like replica guns. So like if they had said it in the US, it actually wouldn't be that unbelievable. Like the kid is obsessed with guns. The only difference is it'd be like school shooter vibes instead of like petty punk vibes. Shiki's on the phone. He's having conversation. It sounds like with a former classmate. Basically, it's exposition to tell us that he's been expelled for fighting, and his adopted dad overhears them. They get into a little argument. He pulls a whole, "Well, thank God I'm not blood related, because otherwise I'd feel like a real loser being related to you."
Oh,
like it's the lightest work ever to try to establish that like he has a strained relationship with his dad for whatever reason, and we don't have a lot of time to dwell on it because almost immediately after that argument, his dad leaves, and then like a car blows up in the street next door, and he's immediately attacked by somebody, and we find out very quickly that the someone he's being attacked by is a Momotaro, who are the group of people who oppose the Oni, him being an Oni, but he doesn't know that yet, and so he gets like literally yanked out of his bed, dropped onto the street, doesn't die. So that should kind of tell you like immediately that either the rules of this world are very cartoonish or he has some secret strength, because if you drop me out of a 2-story window directly onto my back, if I flat back that onto some cement, I'm out, bro. I'm done. But he lives, and right before he can get taken down by the dude in the white coat, his dad literally hits him with a car, and then they drive off to have more exposition about how he's really an Oni child, and this and this, and he can't believe it because he's never heard of anything like this before. Then they get attacked on the road again, which then leads to a fight scene that covers basically the next half of the episode, where Shiki's dad goes one-on-one with the dude in the white coat and gets owned. It's like some like they summon these blades out of, looks like smoke or something. And they kind of go at it. It's given a little bleach a little bit, especially with like the white coated captains and all that other stuff. But that part of the fight wraps up quick. Shiki's dad gets taken out. Shiki is driven to the point of near dying, and then he unlocks his Oni powers, which are, he basically just casts gun as like a blood demon. So he basically makes guns out of blood and blows the dude away. But then at the last minute, like, decides not to kill him. But that doesn't matter because then dude tries to kill him anyway, and his father pops up, takes the sword for him, and that's sort of the inciting incident here, that now he knows that he's a Oni and he's going to be hunted by these Momotaro people. And the very last scene is him getting karate chopped in the back of the neck by what seems to be another Oni who shows up and probably drags him off to Oni High School, where he's going to learn to be a killer and have a bunch of fights. So that's the plot synopsis.
How cool were the blood guns, like the formation of them? Because it looked like the visuals look cool as fuck. But
there's some interesting ideas there.
Okay.
But he is the one, we haven't really gotten to any explanation about how the powers work, or maybe why, his interpretation of an ability is what it is. I mean, you can kind of like connect the dots pretty easily, because I think most of the characters that we're going to meet, because I remember seeing in the preview, the cast, and I think it's pretty much going to be on the nose when it comes to like powers. I like ice. So I make ice crystal. Like it feels like it's gonna go down a pretty
Okay.
linear road, which is fine. I'm not looking for too much. I'll say a couple of notes about the production. The visuals when they are hand drawn are done quite competently, and it definitely has like a recognizable art style. It does. It's not like totally. It's not total slop, even though there is quite a bit of like 3D backgrounds that aren't necessarily painted over. And in the fight, the second half of the fight, when it's Shiki versus the white coat Momotaro guy, there's a lot of CGI, but it's well directed. So it's not jarring when they switch from the hand animated stuff to the CG. It actually, there's parts of it I think actually look pretty cool, especially when like there's a shot of him like falling off the ceiling when he first turns into demon form, and he's like dripping with blood, and it's got a, you know, I won't say it's like a unique look, but it's a recognizable look for his like blood demon form, which I thought was neat, even though it was like very much CGI. But they switch a lot to the hand drawn side, so you know, like you don't get like really extended sequences where it's all 3D, but the 3D stuff they do, they try to keep the camera moving and keep everything very lively, and there's a lot of like,
do the
you know,
shading?
good action shots that I think would hold up if they were hand drawn as well. And so it feels more like we did some cost savings, but we still applied some like artistic in some artistic value to the show, even in those sort of cost savings kind of moments. So actually I think that if the rest of the series is handled in a similar way, that I would not be against more of the fights being in the CG style that they're doing, especially if it gives them an excuse to use like really over the top visual effects. Like the blood dripping effect is really cool. When Shiki is like unloading like barrages of bullets, and you get like there's a really cool shot where like he's unloading with all these bullets, the guy's parrying the bullets with the smoke swords, and then like they cut to what you think is just another like CGI shot, but actually they go hand drawn with CGI special effects of like a missile, you know, like slow motion going over the guy's head, and then the camera's like panning with the missile. So like I think that this is a series that will be carried a lot by the direction, which is not something I usually say a lot when it comes to the B tier action series. Like a lot of times, like the directors are, they're not trying to do anything extravagant. You know, if they have some budget to put in, like Ragna, there was definitely some episodes where like they put their foot in it, but it wasn't like there was a lot of ambitious shots that were being scripted out there. In this one, even in the first episode, there's actually a fair number. There's like a scene where like the Momotaro is like running against the wall, and like all the bullets are flying behind him, and he is actually hand drawn in that scene. He's like running at the camera, and the camera's like pulling along the wall that's 3D, and it looks good. Like that's an ambitious shot to try to make work, and they do for the most part make it look good. So I actually am excited to follow this week to week. I think it may exceed its budget, if that makes any sense, in terms of, you know, getting to the action. And unlike in Gachiakuta, they basically said, listen, I'm gonna give you like 3 minutes of like plot and character development and like 17 minutes of action in episode 1. Because if they had tried to slow roll this one, I think a lot of people would be very bored. So,
well, do you think they're able to do a lot more of the action because of the heavy use of, not heavy use, but like the use of CGI in that way? Like they're using it in a way to like create dynamic shots, but not hand drawn. So that's like helping the budget like extend, have a longer life.
Yeah, no, I do. I think that's one of those things where like it's like a meta, the meta interest in the series is how they are deciding to do that. So there's a lot of use of CG to save money, and sometimes it is well integrated into the production such that it's either seamless or it's an enhancement. So an example is like in Lazarus, which I think is a pretty high budget series that is by a very well-known studio. There's actually a ton of CG, but you don't notice it unless you're looking at like still shots, and they make a point to do a paint over on just about everything. There's like maybe here or there you'll get like a shot in a corridor or something, and you're like, oh, okay, they like this is a money saver. But in this series, while they're not doing as much to like cover over the CG aspect, it's what you said. It's that the direction of the shots are interesting. They're visually interesting, and they're using the ability to have a 3D camera to do something that would be a little annoying to do if you had to hand draw everything. And then because there's very few shots where it's all CG, like something usually will be hand animated, unless like you have a guy like flipping around a scene or something, in which case sometimes it's obvious that they're using a 3D model. But like even then, it's fast, right? And it's directed and in a way that you're still visually interested by what you're seeing, even if what you're seeing is not like the pinnacle of Sakuga. It's like, no, it's not, but there's some competence there. So I am actually looking forward to seeing what else interesting they can do with this. And also the hand-drawn animation is pretty clean. I thought it would be like that. You know, you notice that nasty filter they put over a lot of these series that have a lot of CG and hand-drawn stuff? Like, I don't know what to call it. It's like a painter's filter they'll put over the whole thing. It makes everything just look nasty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they don't do that here. So all the hand-drawn animation is like clean lines, and the characters are, you know, somewhat recognizable. I don't know if I could like pick Shiki out of a lineup yet. We'll see when he gets his like demon school outfit. Does that like, is it memorable enough? Because in Gachiakuta, the outfits absolutely are recognizable. You put Rudo on like a silhouette of him and you could pick him out, because that's a very like,
oh, okay,
you know, I forget what the name of that rule is, but like typically, and like when you go to you know, you learn to do like comic illustration or whatever, they always say like the best characters, you can pick them out from their silhouette, because the features of that character are so strong and memorable that like anyone who sees it once, they get it. Like you can tell Goku versus
Vegeta
a Powerpuff
silhouette.
Girl versus, you know, Naruto versus whatever, just from a silhouette only, because they have very clearly defined character design. I don't know if I don't think like Tougen Anki, anything I've seen is gonna live up to that, but definitely Gachiakuta is that way. Definitely Seventh Prince is that way. Definitely, you know, a lot of the higher end action series nail that part. And then when you don't do that, then you got to do a bunch of other stuff to make it interesting. So
yeah,
so I enjoyed that, but that I'm looking for
that kind of makes me want to check it out. Like, I need a lot more action. I actually need a lot more action. On my weeklies. What else did I watch? Oh, I guess I'm just like marathoning like stuff every week or something like that. I caught up to Reborn as a vending machine.
Oh boy.
And I now wander the dungeon to the point where I'm caught up for season 2. I must say I do enjoy it. I'm not gonna fucking lie, man. It's giving like Dr. Stone, like, oh, I'm this, because he can transform into different kinds of vending machines that give you different things. So but the problem is he cannot communicate outside of like vending machine phrases. So he can like have an idea and give them the items, but he can't basically be like, mix this with that, or like do this with this. So it's more so about him trying to like give them things and like lead them along the right path. But then there's an RPG aspect where he has stats. And so like the more people use the vending machine, because he can accept the coins of that world, the more points he gets, the more transformations he can do. And then, you know, the more durable he becomes. And you would think, how the fuck is there action in this? Because like, what do you mean? And when it does happen, you're just like, of fucking course. Of course, that's what happens. This is okay, fine. Take it away. I'm okay with that. But I will say, season 2, budget. Immediate, obvious budget increase off the jump. But also what I really did enjoy about the show is that they have a lot of like minor characters that are within the village that he is supposed to be like living in, Those characters who we thought were just like regular villagers, right now in season 2, like shit's hitting the fucking fan. And they've expanded the worlds beyond the dungeon. There's like the surface level, the dungeons have like stratums. The dungeons actually, it's very similar to like Dungeon Meshi, but just on a way bigger, not Dungeon Meshi, Is It Okay to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Where like those dungeon levels are almost like full biomes in and of itself. That's what these dungeons are like. And so throughout the first season, they had, let's say like these 3 old people. There was a woman who owned a daycare, and there was rumors about her like being in a hero's party. And then there was an old guy who got stuck on gambling at the vending machine because he added like a little thing to basically be like, if you hit 777, you get an extra thing. And the nigga just wouldn't leave him alone. He was like, I have to win. I'm not going home until I win. And then his old elderly wife was like, bitch, come home. Like, come home. So anyways, everything's hitting the fan. And then at the beginning of season 2, where they're like, we need like all the fucking like, we need the killers. Like, we need the killers to show up. Those 3 old people show up and immediately just start fucking washing the monsters. The old dude is like a master of magic. His wife is like a battle like whatchamacallit? Not like a battle mage. She's like a battle cleric, but as opposed to a mace, she's like a swordsman. And then the orphanage lady, she's like a sniper, like a magic sniper. And a good chunk of the budget immediately straight out is them just washing monsters. And him in the background being like, what the fuck are these? I didn't know he could do that. I didn't know she could do that. And then you go right into episode 2 and they blow it open again where they were like, yeah, so we thought we killed the main dude, but it was just his left arm. So now we got to recruit all these other crazy ass, like cool adventure heroes and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, this is blowing up. Like, this is getting bigger and bigger. But I also liked how it just did it really well. The pacing was really good. The individual things are really good. And there was a really fucking amazing episode because it was talking about like the humanity of the monsters, and particularly like zombies, where that like biome or like that world, they see zombies as literally just like zombies. Like, they're dead. It's over with. So they were on the zombie biome, like looking for something, and he's the vending machine. So he was just standing outside all night because he can't go to sleep. It sounds crazy. Anyways, the zombies don't attack him because they don't see him as having like life. And they only come out at nighttime. So eventually what happens is there's like a kid zombie that like notices him, and it's a kid zombie, so it can't talk, but he eventually notices that it does have sentience. And so he starts giving it like, you know, an orange juice every single night. The kid comes back for the orange juice, sits with him over the night, like blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, wow, like this is really interesting. I didn't know this about like, you know, the zombies, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, during the day, they pack up, they go, they're looking for a monster, or like they're looking for the boss. Nighttime comes around, he's awake, but 2 other people are awake. And all of a sudden, somebody wakes up and they're like, yo, like a zombie's approaching us. And he's like, what the fuck? And he was like, hold on. He turns his lights on. It's the kid zombie approaching him at the little camp that they set up. And they immediately kill the kid. And then he has like an internal thing where he's like, I wasn't able to communicate to these people. Like I know the zombie. And he's like, so I can't be mad at them because to them, it's a zombie. It's like a monster. But he was like, but also it clearly had sentience and like it didn't mean any harm. And he's just like, I'm just really fucking frustrated. And then it became a thing about him being like, does he want to use the things that he's gathering to actually wish that he becomes a human so that he can communicate with them? But then will he lose his usefulness as a vending machine and like all of the things that he's brought to like, you know, this not third world country, but like, you know, they're not in the same technological age as the world that he came from. So honestly, I really did enjoy it. I see why people are in it. But the kissing, be fucking for real. She kissed the fucking vending machine at the end of last season, and I was just like, honestly, I should not have expected anything less. But I really was just like, really? You in love with the vending machine, girl? Okay. All right. It would make a little bit more sense to me personally if he had like telepathy, but he only has telekinesis. So like he's not directly giving his thoughts to people. He's just doing the phrases. But of course the main heroine just like she's in love with him and jealous of other girls, blah blah blah. But it wasn't overly done. So I was like, I'm not sick of this, but also I'm like, girl, I don't buy this. Like, whatever. Like, get on somewhere. But what I'm here for, though, now, is I do enjoy the way that he defeats the monsters, because it's just so fucking ridiculous. And it's funny, though. It is funny, but I want to see them other heroes just, like, stunt. Like, at this point, I want to see how they stunt, and then him doing all this stuff. Great. It sells like hotcakes for a fucking reason. And now I see why.
100%. I mean, again, I didn't watch season 1, and I do pay attention to the light novel rankings, the manga rankings, the monthlies, not necessarily week to week. And years ago, I want to say, was it like 2020? 2020 or 2021, I kept hearing about this, and I saw a couple articles about like the first volume of the light novel going fucking crazy, and I'm like, what the hell is this series? Like, what is this fucking name? Reincarnated as a Vending Machine. You gotta be fucking kidding me. And then you fast forward a couple years, like, announced for an anime series. It's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. A couple years after that, like, season 1 comes out, mad people seem to enjoy it. It seemed to do very well. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Now we're on season 2. Production's up. Apparently it's good. People like it. Light novel's doing better than ever. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So here we are. It seems like it's pretty good.
Yeah, I really did enjoy. I enjoyed the marathon. I enjoyed going into season 2 and basically being like, okay, budget, okay, all right. But yeah, I see it. I understand you all now. You know what? That's a lie. I was gonna be like, I'm not gonna hype it up. Yes, I am. I'm gonna be like, bitch, you need to watch Reborn as a Vending Machine. It's a good, like, chill time. It's not, it's not a fucking Death Note or a Classroom of the Elite where they're doing like mind games and shit like that. It's nothing like that. It's good fun. Good fun. It's funny. It explores concepts, but it never sticks to one thing for way too long. But yeah, it was great. It was great. So.
Oh, sounds solid. Other thing I guess I can talk about, even though I wasn't like thinking about anything deep, and because I wasn't paying a lot of attention when I was watching it, was Hell Teacher Nube. I mostly was skimming the first episode because it's a remake, right, of a much older anime and manga, and they're just the things that stuck out to me. I mean, so the general premise is that Nube is like the replacement teacher at this school in a city that's like a nexus for paranormal activity. So we're told like really off rip that like the supernatural is a real thing, like, and that not only is this place, the city's like a hotbed for that kind of paranormal stuff, but that demons and yokai and everything else kind of cling to people who have negative emotions. And it's clear that there are individuals who use those abilities and powers to like make bad stuff happen. And in the first episode, we are told up front that Nube is a exorcist or somebody with powers and abilities. That's important because most of the first episode's content is him trying to solve the case of one of his students. And when we are introduced to all of the I'll guess say like the normal humans in the series, they very much think that exorcism is bullshit. And most of the characters are either like totally not believing in any of that stuff and think it's like stupid, or they've had some kind of negative interaction with like fake scammy paranormal stuff. And so when he shows up kind of fully owning his exorcist abilities, because he doesn't like, at least at school, doesn't like do and use any of his powers, he's treated kind of like he's a goofball. And it definitely had like a very like 80s comedy cadence to the way the storytelling and everything else was happening, even though the animation's pretty clean and they've updated certain parts of it to take place in the present. Like I noticed like in the first like 5 minutes, he's like at the school, and they make a big deal of lingering on a shot where someone's using like a modern like smartphone and tabbing over and doing things on a smartphone. And it's like, it felt like, I'm sure if I went back and read the original manga beat for beat of like him coming into the school, he's got the fake exorcist stuff with like the yokai lights and the fog machine and playing the music, like the gag of like that is probably the exact same gag as like the original manga from, maybe it's from the 70s, maybe it's early 80s, I don't quite know when it's from, but they've visually updated it so that all of the stuff is taking place around more modern things. Like there's another scene in the classroom where people are like sharing a tablet, and one of the jokes is that like one of the kid who's really suffering from some kind of like demonic or paranormal haunting like is it's like manifesting in the tablet, and so he like freaks out and can't use it, and someone's like, oh, another caveman who can't use a tablet. Who would have thought there's two in the same classroom? And it's like that stuff is clearly thrown in there to modernize the story, but if you took that out, you could have placed this storytelling at any time. Even like the way that the characters are drawn and their clothes are drawn kind of evoke a much older era, that 80s aesthetic, especially in like the classmates like casual wear. It was very interesting. And also we talked about like characterization, like all the named characters are very visually distinct. Even Nube, his like build, like he's wearing normal clothes. He's wearing like for the most part like a white button down and very nondescript clothing. But I bet you if you silhouetted him, he would look like somebody recognizable because it's like his hair has a very particular shape. So I just like got a kick out of tracking how they updated, or trying to guess at maybe where they were updating the story, because it's definitely taking more of like a monster of the week structure, where like Nube's probably going to solve a case involving maybe people at the school or whatever. He runs into a fellow teacher and he's like, you got a lot of spirits haunting you, you'd make a great medium. And she's like, I don't like this fucking paranormal shit, get this the fuck out of here. And slaps him and like runs away. And it's like, oh, okay, that's gonna be a plot line later. But then we get to the end of the episode. So he's basically been trying to help this kid who has been possessed, and the action scenes, especially when so the kid's name is Hiroshi, and he attacks one of his like female classmates who's like the only one who believes that Nube actually has powers, and she's been looking after him and like following him around, like something weird's going on with this kid. But when the action scene starts and they actually like get into the fight happens, and he grabs her with like the supernatural jellyfish shit, and then Nube pops in with his like exorcist scroll stuff, and it's very well animated, and it feels very much like also a throwback at the same time. The other funny thing is like remember it's like a cast of like kids, right? And they're a lot of the time they'll be like involved in dangerous shit. So when the girl gets wrapped up, she's like up on a telephone pole, and like Nube like undoes the paranormal like thing grabbing her, and then they have a long shot of her falling, like sliding straight down the pole, and then like hitting her ass like on the cement, and she's like, and it's not a joke, I laughed, and she's like, ow, that fucking hurts, and she like rolls over. I'm like, did he not try to save this girl? Like, what the fuck?
Okay,
it's bad. I mean, it's but it's not like like I'm sure it was animated for a reason, for sickos like us who laugh at stuff like that, but in the context of the show and plot, it was not a gag. You know what I mean?
But I mean, like, that's attention to detail for me, because it's like, that would hurt. Like, that would hurt. Yeah. Like, yeah, girl.
It was not played for a laugh, is what I'm going to get at. which is funny. And then she's like, holding her ass later on, like, that did fucking hurt, but it's not like I don't know. I got a kick out of it because I'm like, okay, that takes some guts to just go along with that. Like, other series would do that scene, and then they would again, it would be overblown for the sake of the joke. Also, like when he punches like the demon out of Hiroshi, and it splats on the wall, and there's like blood everywhere, and then you see like his own demon form or whatever he has, his power, pop up, and he looks fucking badass. And I'm like, yo, this is actually kind of cool. Like, the yokai fights are pretty brutal once you get away from like the classroom stuff. and I would tune in multiple weeks to see more violence, like bloody ass shit. And again, well animated, looks good. Characters are kind of throwback style, but not too much. It does feel appropriately modern. So I was pleasantly surprised. I kind of want to like go back and rewatch the first episode. Maybe pay a little bit of more attention to the plot and other like world building exposition, because like I can't totally tell if there's a lot of depth to like the yokai side of things, or is it really just gonna be we're gonna see another creepy monster every week? But when he guts that thing, like he gets inside of it and like tears it apart from the inside, and it's like gross and bloody and everything else, I'm like, okay, give me this shit. There's a little opportunity for some Sakuga in here too. Sign me up, Nube. You did your thing.
Okay. Oh my god, the studio did Uma Musume. Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, there's gonna be some cool shit in that. Guaranteed.
There's some good shit.
Okay.
I was pleasantly surprised by this one.
All right. That actually, damn, there's two. Well, it's becoming a common theme where it's like there's just so much interesting stuff every season now. There's just so much coming out. Okay. I think the other stuff I watched were just, the regular returners. So Dr. Stone. Love the first episode. Loved he and Zeno playing off of each other, like in person, like doing the like science, figuring out the location in South America, all kind of stuff like that. I was like, yeah. I was like, that more of the same, but just like with a new character that's like on Senku's level. Loved it. And then Shield Hero season 4. I'm actually interested in this because of the Siltvelt like reception and the politics that like were so obvious, like the hierarchy within the demi-humans and the way that they were treating his companions, stuff like. I'm like, okay, it could get real wicked. Like we could get back to like the griminess of like season 1, where like he's basically just like, I'm tired of this shit. It's time to start busting heads. Like, I'm gonna keep watching to find out. I feel like I am too deep, and I cannot give up anymore. I have to. I at least have to get to the fucking Phoenix, because they keep talking about the damn Phoenix, but every time they talk about the Phoenix, there's like, and here's another arc that has nothing to do with the Phoenix. And it's like, bitch, where's the Phoenix? So I want to see this Phoenix, because the dragon fight was cool. I did enjoy the dragon fight with Homegirl and her finger slicing that nigga with energy down his like stomach. I was like, okay. But that was it. That was like the highlight of those past 2 seasons, actually. That was like amazing. Maybe it's the nostalgia in me, like wanting to get back to what season 1 was, and so I keep giving it chances. I'm just like, I believe in you. You can do it. I believe in you, because every time someone complains about like season 2 and 3, they're like, no, but it's like, you just gotta stick it. Like it gets better. Da, da, da. And I'm like, I'm still here. I'm still waiting. And I'm still tuning in. I will continue to watch it.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a few things that are on my list of stuff to watch. Second episode of Cleavites is out now. I'll probably talk more about that next time. But I'm excited to follow up there. Don season 2. I did watch a little bit of the first episode and the second episode. I saw a clip of something from the second episode before I'd even like popped on. So I was like, oh, all right, let me just like get through this shit so I can see what's going on. So really cool stuff happening there. Apocalypse Bringer. I know you said you took a look at that one. I was interested, but there was some like tonal confusion, I guess, from like both the description and then what I saw in the preview. Did you watch it? You said you watched the first episode?
I couldn't get through the first episode because
you couldn't get, so you didn't finish it. So yeah, that's also on my list of things to catch up on. We'll have maybe a better report on that when we both have taken a look at it. And the other one that like has been hanging around like the back end of my radar is which I did not finish the first season, so I also have to catch up. Is Call the Night season 2.
Oh yeah.
Every person I've talked to who has seen season 1 really liked season 1 a lot. Some people, for them, it was like literally the favorite thing that was running that season when it came off, and I was always surprised by that. Yeah, I think I watched the first episode, and I saw the vision. It was a little dry for me at the time, but like it didn't mean it was bad. Now I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should like dig into season 1 to catch up to see what's happening in season 2, because apparently there's a lot of like extended world building, and they have an interesting vampire power system. So I'm always down for some shit like that. So that may be on my not so backlog, because I think I can knock out season 1 this week to be caught up. If it gets much longer than that, it may take a while.
Did you watch the cat zombie or whatever thingamabob?
Which one?
Where like if they get bit, they turn into cats. What
no, not Night of the Living whatever.
Of the Living Cat.
Yeah. I have not watched it. A close friend of mine did watch the first episode. Someone who I thought was really going to like it. They enjoyed it. It was them and their partner. They watched it, but the partner could not get into the comedy of it. And I'm like, that's interesting. I think it should be a hoot, but it may be one of those things that like would work better as like a 6 episode ONA rather than like a full season, because I don't know from the previews and some of the synopses that I saw like how much the joke, the one joke that they have can get stretched out over that many episodes. So I don't know, but I was interested when I saw it because it's just different and new, and we need different.
Yeah, we do.
There's also Fate Strange Fake, which like is probably
wait, that's back this season.
Like there's supposed to be another episode dropping, right? Like one episode. Don't we get like one?
Oh, like one. Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't see anything about a season of it coming.
No, it's not a season. Okay. I think not now, but I think before the end of this season, we should get one more episode.
I don't see anything about it. It'll probably pop up.
Yeah.
No, I didn't even watch the first episode. I need to catch up on the Grand Order movie, because I heard those were fucking awesome, like the Camelot.
I watched them out of order.
One.
I kind of watched them in reverse order.
Yeah. I just know that the Grand Order story, because it's beyond me at this point, but at least I appreciated the effort that they put into trying to get people who weren't into the gacha game. That's actually the one gacha game that is the exception about like the gachas and stories, because the Fate fans complained so bad that the originals, like they came in and took it over, and it became just as good as any other like Fate spinoff.
No, I mean production wise, it's amazing. It's one of those. Sometimes we should have a conversation about things that like hold back otherwise like excellent ideas or excellent stories. I think like Grand Order, as much as it exists because the gacha game moved like $400 million worth of whaling, so it wouldn't exist without like all that stuff. I think like in the movies and the TV adaptation for Grand Order, I think it's held back by the gacha, the conceit of the original story of the gacha game. I think it would work so much better if they kind of eliminated almost everything that is related to the Grand Order part, because the thing that's happening in whatever those, what do they call them? What are they visiting? The worlds they're visiting? What do they call them? Like
singularities.
Like those, the level of interesting abnormal shit that you can do in the singularity with the level of production that they had, and even the mini stories that they're telling inside of each of those are strong enough that if they didn't have to get tied back to anything to do with an overworld plot, would be 10 times better.
Which they kind of got done with whatchamacallit, fake Babylon.
Yes,
like,
yeah. That yes. Like, 100%, yeah.
And you really didn't even need to know the overarching plot, because it all was within Babylon. Like that story was like self-contained. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually where I felt it the most. It was like, oh wow, they've basically dropped like 95% of all the Grand Order shit. Like,
yeah,
it has almost nothing to do with what's happening here until like the very end, the very beginning and the very end.
Yeah,
and all these characters are fun. All these sort of like relationships and like the war that's happening is really cool. Like the stuff with Enkidu and all that stuff. Like this works. All this is working. Every time I hear some mumbo jumbo about this singularity, I'm like, and we're back to the part that's like slowing everything down and handcuffing what they're doing here. And I felt that way about all of the, prior movies and everything else I've consumed from Grand Order. Is like the more they jettison the gacha game, the better everything gets. I also feel that way in most isekai series. The more they jettison the actual isekai part of it, a lot of the good ones, like the story really holds up. I would even argue that like for something like ReZero, even though the initial gimmick of the series is that you're basically, the character has the ability to let you see all of the paths in the visual novel.
Yeah.
That's his literal gimmick is the death gimmick is just to let you see the audience see all the paths. The moment they stopped leaning on that device, the story got so much better. Like he would still die, but you got to spend a lot more time inside of a lot of these, paths, learning more about the individual characters. So the longer they spent in any individual one of them, without him dying and resetting, the better everything was getting. So it's like sometimes you have to jettison shit in these series to really get it popping.
Well, that ain't happening with Fate. Well, with Grand Order in particular. I enjoyed Samurai Remnant. That was great. That was a great game.
Mm-hmm. But like the original, what's the name? The Shielder girl. What's her name?
Mashu.
Yeah, like what? She's not a character. She's just there.
Yeah, what's we call it? She's your like gotcha main character that you go through the story and then they eventually get a power up to bring them to like subpar meta level for you to use in PvP. But that's about it. Like everybody else,
even in like each of the seasons, like she's just there. She's literally just there.
Well, yeah, when you compare her like character growth or journey to other people in like the Babylon story, like what was the Ushiwakamaru? Like her whole thing, like, and then the whole fight where she got taken out.
That was so cool.
That was so fucking cool. It's just like all the Quetzalcoatl, Tiamat, all themselves. I was just like, all of this is so cool. And then Mashu's just kind of like there. Like she doesn't really matter until Fujimaru's like in trouble and she like comes out of nowhere and shields him. And it's like boom, boom, boom. But it's like you're not a part of this world. Like you really are just here because you're the player insert.
Yeah.
But they love her. They love her. I mean, she gets a big gun eventually. I will give them that. The promo material that they use for that game is fucking insane.
Yeah.
On YouTube, like they do like really good like 30-second fully animated like balls to the wall Sakuga with like a fucking like K-pop song, not K-pop, J-pop song.
Yeah.
And it hits every fucking time.
I think it's just I get worn out. I'm a grown ass adult, non-Japanese man, so the idea of yet another character getting a lot of screen time who's just like a subservient woman who has no agency and doesn't go through any particular enlightenment or growth as a character for very long stretches of the story, and kind of just gets like pops up to step in front of the main character when he's trying to do anything, because he can't fight, he can't do shit. So it's like the idea of having multiple characters in a series where they're just wet blankets that don't do anything doesn't move me. It doesn't, like, give me more Quetzalcoatls, give me more like literally anybody, because all the servants,
the tiger servant in the fucking pajamas,
the
tiger servant in the pajamas
alive.
that
they're very
mauled
lively.
their asses.
I don't like these dead fish Like it's an Asian thing in a lot of these stories. It's not. No.
Oh, the self-insert. Yeah. Well,
yeah, just like liven it up. Put some pepper on that steak, man. Like, what are we doing?
But yeah. Oh well. I guess we had a fate moment there. That's all that I pretty much tuned into. I mean, I'm definitely tuning into more stuff this week. Because a lot of the other shows that are kind of like off the beaten path or like less popular, they'll have their first 3 episodes, which, as we said earlier, the 3-episode rule is kind of dead now. But I'm gonna still give it to some people, because I don't know, like, you never know when we're gonna get that next Standing on a Million Lives. So
true. I mean, I think you should give things a chance and try to see what they are trying. What is it that a series is trying to sell you? You know, and then decide if what they are trying to sell you is something you are interested in buying. If the series is trying to sell you, you know, fan service and a joke here or there, and they give you the fan service and they give you the joke, then it's done its job. You don't need 3 episodes to figure that out. On the other hand, if they're trying to sell you, you know, a intricate story with characters who go through, you know, challenges and changes and, you know, et cetera, and it takes a little bit of time for that to develop, then you should give those series some time to actually develop that before you write them off and say, oh, this is trash or this is whatever. Because, like, again, I've seen a lot of the sort of second, you know, or even third class of production work on a show that just has a lot of strong characters or a lot of, like, interesting and weird ideas, and like if you only watch the first 2 episodes of some of those, you would walk away with a very different impression than if you had even followed it through half the season or given it the full season. We always go back to Back Arrow as like a principal example of like shit that just punches above its weight class off of like pure charisma and like hold my beer, you know, like balls to try things, even if like the money and the design and the whatever isn't always there to like meet the challenge of what it wants to do. I think this season I'm already seeing like more effort put in on the directorial side of some of these. I would just call them like, you know, lower budget or second or third class shows that makes me want to tune back in to see what those creators are doing because it's interesting. And I'm not going to get it if I'm watching, you know, the latest episode of One Piece only, which One Piece is good. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you know, that's not the only place where folks are really putting their foot in it. You know what I mean?
I do have an unrecommendation. I'm unrecommending Persona 5 Phantom X. They on that grime. They're on that gacha grime.
Oh no.
Yeah, the thing is that it's not that it's a bad game, it's that they are altering the game to be more financially predatory towards the global servers. So the Korean servers, the Chinese servers, the Japanese servers, they've all gotten all these things, and that's how everyone expected global to go. They said absolutely not. We're actually going to squeeze every bit of a dime out of you as we can. And so now the game is rapidly dying because people are review bombing it, rightfully so, because it's just a new problem every day with it. So I did recommend that, you know, to like check it out because, you know, it's Persona, but it's gacha, but it's grimy gacha. So I mean, you can probably watch all the story scenes on YouTube if you wanted to. But I do love Lutful or Lufel, the owl mascot. That nigga's cool as fuck. Like I like him way more than Mona. But I mean, oh well, you know, it's like, oh, and his persona's a mecha. That's why I love him. He gets a mecha persona. It looks so good. But yeah, you know, well, you know, I don't know. But yeah, that's my unrecommendation for the week.
Oh, I'm sorry that for those who get invested in the gacha games that tend to have like I would call it like a poor economy, because you don't know that, especially with new ones, until you kind of put some time into it, and hopefully you did not put too much money into it to figure that out, but
yeah, that's the thing about the gachas. The intro pack is like $3 here. Then you hit the level 10, it's a $5 pack. Then you hit level 20, it's for another $5. And then next thing you know, you're just like, why did I just get charged $40 on my card? Like, what's going on? It's like, oh, okay, the gacha game. But when they're new, when they're in that honeymoon phase, that's where they get basically the majority of their money. But then the successful ones that have staying power, those are just juggernauts. Like, if it becomes a staying power one, it's gonna be amazing. And I think one of the reasons why like Uma Musume is so good is because Crunchyroll ruined the like rollout because they gave them the publishing thing because COVID delayed Cygames Western expansion. So that's why they didn't publish it themselves. But Uma Musume is published by Cygames, like, you know, global development. And we are getting the exact same stuff that all the Japanese and like Chinese servers got. Every single thing. And people are happy as fuck. That's why the game is fucking surging on Twitch. Because it's actually like Cygames running it. In the relation to like correlation like Dragalia Lost. I'm pretty sure you guys probably saw something about that with like Nintendo and Cygames' collaboration. That game was great. That game was great. Very generous, all kinds of stuff like that. But the rumor is that it died because Nintendo didn't want to play ball with Cygames. Like, Cygames want to do very specific things because gacha games are Cygames' thing, and Nintendo wanted Nintendo's way. And so Dragalia Lost is dead because of that. But there's just a stark difference between like who runs the games, because Princess Connect came out, and it is a Cygames game, but it was published over here by Crunchyroll. And they did the exact same thing, and that's happening in Persona 5. They grime the fuck out the gacha to basically make it as predatory as possible. And, you know, it's his life. You know.
Well, I mean, that not great.
Not great, but I mean, I mean, there's always another gacha, there's always another IP, there's always something new, something else to play. There's always something else to play or like get into or learn about. So, but yeah, just unfortunate. But BBB, the dynamics. I didn't really see any anime news that I was interested in this week.
So the only recommendation that I really have is not like a current one, but maybe in the next couple of months, is for Guilty Gear Strive. So, as some folks know, the Cyberpunk Edge Runners anime was the season 2 was announced, and Strive also has a connection over there. They're bringing Lucy into the game as a playable character. In the 4th DLC season. So we don't know when that release is going to be. It is most likely, I would say, like, you will see her early fall. So if you are interested in fighting games, Strive is already a fantastic game. Very anime inspired and also hype to play. And a lot of the more recent updates have given a lot of the characters major overhauls or a lot of new tools. Plus, we'll have the Guilty Gear Strive tie-in later on this year. So I was getting back into it a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I finally had some both free time and homies to get it in with. And I was just reminding myself how much I hate Ramlethal. Fucking zoners are a nightmare. But I've been playing a lot more, and I'm just reminding myself how much I love this franchise. And it's beautiful to look at. It's a great game, much more simplified than some prior entries. And Lucy's coming sometime this year. So if you're into fighting games, Strive is where it's at.
You know, I bought Strive, of course, like any other fighting game. I followed the fucking FOMO. But I did enjoy its training that it had.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the training mode is so much
thorough.
better.
It was very thorough, and it also wasn't generous either. It was like, no, you didn't do it. Like, you didn't do the combo. And I'm like, I thought I did it. It's like, you didn't do it. But I actually enjoyed that a lot, because personally with, like, I guess something like Street Fighter, I don't know if Street Fighter even has that mode. Street Fighter 6, it probably does have a mode like that. But Strive like actively like led me to that mode, and then it had like different levels and like everything for like specific characters, and it was in a very like small yet growing way where it was like, okay, you're gonna focus on this, and then you unlock the next level for this character, and like you can choose to do the basic levels with this character, and I was like, oh, this is making it seem way less crazier or like daunting, not crazy, way less daunting. That's something I specifically remember.
Also, there's a $200 Giovanna statue that got announced.
Is that
today.
the one with the green?
Yeah, with
like
Ray the dog,
thing?
the wolf,
the dog,
her wolf spirit.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm like, listen, I don't usually get hype because she's not even my main. Like, I like Giovanna. Like when I first started playing Strive, I was like, okay, she's a new character. She seems like designed for new players, so let me give her a try. And I liked what I was getting with her, but she has a very limited move set, or at least did in the beginning. So I moved on to other stuff. But like, I see the statue, I'm like, well, maybe I go back and play her some more to justify spending $200.
But also,
because it's great.
I thought the statue looked really good, and I was surprised it's only 200. Like, yeah. I was kind of surprised by that. But hey, I mean, they got like the fucking Gojo Dick statues going for like 500, 600.
That's fair, yeah.
So I'm kind of just like, y'all only charging 200 for this? Okay.
Yeah, but that's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, you can find me on Marvel Rivals running it down with Phoenix.
Oh shit.
Am I running it down in a good way? I don't know. I have no fucking idea. It depends on who my teammates are. But you can find me online, Kurshore, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram. If you see me liking the Fujoshi BL stuff, I mean, we've already been through this. Like, it is what it is. It is what the fuck it is. It is what it is. I've fallen behind on like my like lexicon of like shows, or not shows, like manga that I used to read BL like every night, like new stuff, like volumes, and I got behind. And so I've been in the Fujoshi realm, getting them recommendations and stocking up that backlog because I got to get caught up. But yeah, you can catch me on, all the socials that way. Where can they find you, James?
You can find me on most platforms. Whole name James Mars King on Blue Sky, Neural Handshake on Twitter, and Alexander on Twitch, AELEXANDER, and on YouTube as well. But I'm not promoting anything, nothing crazy happening. I gotta get my game up in Monster Hunter. I started like knocking out some of the new content, and I realized how behind I was.
I fought Legiacris, or whatever.
How do you feel about that fight?
That shit was fun.
It's a fun fight. It's actually really fun the first time you do it.
At the beginning of the fight, I was like, I feel like and then after the enrage, after that first enrage, he started pulling out shit, and I was like, okay, let me pay attention. But he really fucked me up in the underwater part. Like that, I carded in the underwater part. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing down here. Like, alrighty. And then
the fun thing is that there's so many different ways it can play out. You don't even have to go underwater.
What?
Yeah, you can actually just like hug the outside wall and not go in the water. Eventually he'll pop out and do the ultimate, but like you don't have to do that. And also underwater there's a lot of weird stuff that you can do that change the way the fight goes. So they put some like interesting like little wrinkles and Easter eggs and other stuff into that encounter. I think it's a lot of fun.
I was just using there's some debris in the water, and then you can do like the thing. I was just spamming that shit. I was just like, just hit his ass, like hit the head, hit the tail, like hit the spine, like do that. But I didn't do it in time or enough. And yeah, he did that move, got my ass. But it was definitely a fun fight.
There's like a couple. A lot of people put up videos of just like all the different things that you can do to change the way the fight goes, both when you're out of the water and also in the water. And I just like that there's just a lot of detail like that if you fool around, you can find new stuff, and it does have an impact on kind of how it goes down.
Yeah, if that's the monster design from here on out, then hell yeah, I'm loving it. I mean, I'm still excited for the inevitable expansion regardless, and title update 3.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, those skills, I need the farm because I need to get those sets.
Yeah, Title Update 3 is going to be pretty significant, and they've already changed quite a bit. Like for the better, I think, for a lot of the weapons. Like I'm not a lance or gun lance person, so that I feel is like, from what I hear, are the ones who have not benefited as much so far. But almost all the other weapons have gotten like either new stuff or like changes and improvements basically to the kit and what they can do or the damage they can do or like other details. So Monster Hunter is doing its thing. I mean, do you know the usual thing, when we get G rank, that's when the real game starts. So yeah, whenever that happens.
Remember Iceborne, remember the carts.
Right.
Remember, because it was rough. Oh god. But yeah, but it's still fun. All right. That's all for this week. We'll catch y'all next time. Bye.
Peace out.